Good afternoon. It is a great day for the mayor to proclaim Washington Area Women's Foundation Day. It is my favorite day of the year, and every luncheon in my heart is Washington Area Women's Foundation Day. So thank you all for being here. And thank you, Doreen. It's great to see you. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars and change the world. That is a quote from abolitionist, suffragist, and humanitarian Harriet Tubman. It appears actually on an inspirational calendar that Marion Ballard sends to many of us, and I know lots in this room receive it on a regular basis at the end of the year, and I know we all love it. And I can't think of a more fitting way to introduce you to her and her husband, Rick, longtime supporters of the Women's Foundation. Rick and Marion's commitment to the foundation and to helping the women and girls of this region achieve and even surpass their goals was very apparent very early on. I remember the very first time I met Marion. I'm not sure if she will remember, but I certainly do. One day I walked into the foundation office when I first became engaged, and back then it was on 11th Street. And I can't remember exactly what the occasion was, but it was a really busy time. It was all hands on deck. It was that kind of day, and the place was sort of all abuzz with activity. And amidst that chaos, I spotted Marion sitting at a desk, which was literally inside of a closet. And she was poring over a financial statement that came out on those old printers that spit out reams of paper, nice wide paper, and she had a ruler that she was using to go over line after line of receivables. And I remember, sort of thinking to myself, I don't know if she's a volunteer or a staff member or who she is, but introduced myself. And I later realized that unbeknownst to me, the person that I had seen in the closet with the ruler was one of the founders of the Women's Foundation and a brilliant strategist, a planner, a driver of the organization that we are all here to support today. Years later, a similar scene repeated itself, but by this time I knew not to make assumptions about people who were poring over financial statements. But I went into the foundation office, then moved to 14th Street and saw Rick sitting there, actually on 14th and K, with a sheet of potential luncheon sponsors in front of him, and he was dialing for dollars. He was, determinedly making phone calls to encourage people like me to buy a table and to give to this foundation. And I know that so many of you have been on the receiving end of one of Rick's calls, and I certainly have. Rick and Marion helped us set up the very first office using equipment that they donated to the foundation. They helped file the paperwork that officially incorporated the foundation, and Marion became one of the very first donors of the Women's Foundation. And to this day, 17 years later, she remains the person who has the longest record of giving of anybody in this room or outside of this room. 17 years. Shortly after that, Rick joined Marion as a donor, and he too gives generously of his time, of his talent, and of his treasure. He eventually became one of the first men to identify himself as a leader in the Women's Foundation, and we are so proud of that. As the foundation has evolved over the past 15 years, both Rick and Marion have found new ways to support it. Marion was our very first board chair, on whose shoulders many of us in this room now stand. They have both served as leadership luncheon host committee chairs, including this year's, and they have co-chaired numerous others. They've been leadership award volunteers, Washington 100 members, and they dutifully attend site visits and events, and they share their enthusiasm for this work with so many others on a regular basis. Individually and together, Rick and Marion have demonstrated the passion and the strong partnership and the generosity and the willingness to take on tasks large and small, and this kindness and humility that really is like no other. And they have shown me and all of us that it is possible to change lives and change the world by doing that. Rick and Marion have certainly changed my life. So please join me, Rick and Marion.
Thank you, Carolyn and the Women's Foundation. I am overwhelmed and humbled. It's not Rick and me who deserve the award, but everyone in this room and others who could not be here who believe in the work of Washington Area Women's Foundation and believe that Washington Area Women's Foundation is truly making a difference in the lives of women and girls. It was 15 years ago, as Carolyn said, when Lois Slavkin, new in Washington, was walking down the street and asked a friend, "Where's the Women's Foundation?" And the friend didn't know. So how could that be, Lois said. A city this size needs a women's foundation. So they started a women's foundation with a little help from their friends, many of whom are in the room today. Ann Mosley, Lisa Ross, Laurie Weinstein, Sherburne Lachlan, Laurie Emmerich, Tommy Duncan, Marjorie Scher, Vivian Pinn, Marjorie Sims, and myself. Belle Brooks O'Brien, Ann Morrison, and Sandy Ruman were there with us every step of the way. We were a brand new board in 1998 with no money, but Marjorie Sims said we had to make some grants. That was our mission and purpose, after all. So we gave away $17,500 in 7 grants, just about all we had, to organizations that were having a significant impact on the lives of women and girls. These were the first leadership awards that Washington Area Women's Foundation made, and they are still with us, I think all but one, 15 years later. But it's not the same scale now. We gave away $805,000 in June at the board meeting. The board meeting voted on that. So, big difference. So I'm passionate about the work of Washington Area Women's Foundation. It's so important for all of us to stand together to create the community where everyone can stand on her own feet. Rick and I and all of us understand that when women thrive, everyone thrives, and that to invest in women is to invest in the entire community. Thank you for letting Rick and me share your success.
My part in this will be brief, appropriately so. First, let me salute and congratulate Mayor Gray, Doug and Aaron from Channel 4, and the other band of hardy men who have shown their face here today. Let me also salute and congratulate all of you. It's been 15 great years, and finally a thought that with your help, the next 15 can be even greater. Thank you.